figured it wouldn't be right to vote on premium holiday. You're benefactor.
Go for 2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly. Not enough.
It's not enough.
I want more.
Where's he?
United Federal. He's over in South Bend. They have a mutual walker in South Bend. He's from South Bend.
They don't have one.
He's been trying to get me.
Is
No, she's behind you.
okay. So we're all here. Beth's here. You ready to go?
Oh.
Beth? Good. I'll call the work session to order.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So I wanted to share with you a little bit about federal grants, some updates, some information for new members. That's why I said, I felt like it wasn't on.
Yeah, a little quiet.
So an update and what's new in the federal grant world. So the title grants I'm going to be talking about tonight are Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV. So Title I is assistance to schools with percentages of high poverty, low-income families, to make sure that we're meeting all students' needs to meet, the challenging academic standards. This is Title I is like an above and beyond. So all schools, when Kevin's doing his planning in the budget, so this is always an above and beyond. Title II, Part A, is professional development. So anything in that grant can go towards professional development that would lead to the increase of academic achievement. Helping teachers to improve, principals. It could provide, like our principal academic courses, things like that. Title III is for our English language learners, and those are also above and beyond. So basically those funds supplement what we're already doing at the district basic core instructional level. So that is providing additional services or additional above and beyond for our English language learners.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure,
Annually, how much money is tied to each one of those?
that is my next slide.
Oh, okay, good.
And Title IV then is kind of addressing the well-rounded education of a student. So,
Beth, what does well-rounded education mean?
meaning we can take care of or address, employability skills for students. We can music,
STEM education.
STEM
Part of that.
education. There's a technology piece in there. So supporting some of those other things just rather than just English and math, language arts, and things.
Thank you.
So on to Doug's questions. So my hope was that in planning this, I would have 23-24 school year budget allocations as we were supposed to get them the first week in May from the IDOE, but that has not happened. So I'm kind of giving you a rundown of what we have already. So Title I Part A is it is a 1 year allocation. It's like basically the school year. That's what we currently get for the 22-23 school year. Title II, Title III, and Title IV both run off of fiscal years. They're like 18-month grants that you can see they overlap. So that's what we get for each one of those. So as our fiscal year 21 grants will end, if you look at Title II, Part A, that will end here in December, but we will have already gotten another Title II Part A allocation that will go to December of 24. So they're always overlapping. And we are spending off of all of these at the same time, depending on what's put in the grant and what initiatives or goals they're addressing. So that is our basic, those are the Title IV. So those are the ones that are, title grants that I'm talking about tonight, those 4 grants. Those total, they're a little over $5.5 million. I haven't heard of any decreases. Usually we hear if something's going to decrease significantly. I haven't heard of any decreases in any of the federal grants, but sometimes it is a surprise.
You mentioned the word goals just a minute ago. What kind of numerical goals and timeline do you hope to achieve by the allocation of these dollars?
I mean, how are we addressing using the funds?
Well, that's part of it, but also you have a goal to reach at some point in the future. Okay, and so numerically, what is that goal? You know, to elevate schools from a lower status to a B or an A. You know, and say, okay, we're going to pick this school, this title fund's over here, everybody's committed to it, and we're going to do this kind of an incremental step and reach that goal.
Right, so you're getting to my next slide too.
Oh, good.
You guys planned it first.
I think we're on the same page here.
Yeah, we talked all.
Yeah. Good. Very good.
So the grant application process. So in the past, grant applications were individualized. Title I, II, III, and IV that I'm talking about tonight. We still get separate allocations, but they were separate grant applications altogether. And there was some redundancy as the IDOE was creating these applications. They would ask some of the same questions in Title I that they'd ask in Title II, that they'd ask in Title IV. So we found ourselves, so what Elkhart, we've done this for the past 5 years. We took all the grants, the money that we're receiving, we did sort of a district comprehensive needs assessment. So we're looking at all our district data for planning, identifying through the data, what are the prioritized needs, what student groups, what schools, kind of looking at the big picture. So how can we use our funds efficiently and effectively and meet the timeline of the goals? What the IDOE now is doing is kind of what we've already been doing, but they're calling it a pre-application. So instead of applying individually for each grant, we're doing a pre-application, which is all narrative, no budgets. So that it opened up May. That pre-application is due June 30th to address those 4 federal grants. The expectation of the IDOE is that we analyze our current practices, our data, what we're trying to accomplish, where are we at, and brainstorm ways to make this process more streamlined. So we're already ahead of the game because we already do that. We list out our title grants, initiatives, goals. You know, Title I can cover this, but Title II can cover this and help the non-public or non-Title I schools. So we're using all the funds, you know, we feel efficiently. So through the pre-application process, these are their expectations. So what we will be doing is the same as we've done. So we're going to gather and analyze our data, and this is from the pre-application. So they expect us to gather and analyze our data. We're going to review that data, review what we're doing. Some of the data we won't have current iLearn scores, but we certainly could have some NWEA, we'll have the WIDA access, we'll have some SAVIS data. So we can look at some new from this year, but we'll have to use, you know, the 22 iLearn scores. So we're going to review those, what goals, initiatives, our PLC process, our trauma-informed care, and our SIAP that we're doing now. We're going to review that. what progress have we made, what haven't we made, where are some of our challenges. And then they want us to establish new goals, objectives, and activities that would meet these goals and objectives based on the identified data.
And this pre-application process is new for the IDOE.
Yes, they started it last year. They've really refined the pre-application process. It's much.
The fact that it's new tells me that there's other districts that weren't doing this, and they felt that they had to put it together. So I commend you for being ahead of the game and already had this process in place before we were told to do it. So
Thank you.
It's a good
Actually,
job.
I like, maybe Elkhart had some push towards it, because I actually did a presentation at a title conference 5 years ago on how we were doing the whole district
Right.
comprehensive needs assessment, how we're using all our grants to leverage this. Actually, the DOE reached out to,
I was gonna say
they
there's
reached out
probably
to
representatives
Elkhart
saying,
and
"Yeah, wouldn't that
said,
be great to have everybody doing
all your
it?"
grants are aligned, and since then, I'm also on the advisory board for
Okay.
federal grants for the IDOE, talking about this stuff and how can we make things better. So, yeah,
Good job.
thank you. So that's what we'll do in the process. So that's part of it. So then once we do that, and just a little bit more into the pre-application. So in reviewing it, there are actually 9 sections in the pre-application. And there are sections within those 9 sections. So for example, one is purpose. So the purpose, that's what it's titled, purpose, will contain, they want to know what our data measures are. So what are we using to collect data, state and local? What is the actual data? What prioritized needs did we get from analyzing this data? And what goals, initiatives do we need to set? All based on what gets us towards student achievement and growth. Then there's like an academics section for achievement. And they'll want to know, how are we making sure, and these are each its own category, how are we making sure that all students are achieving, at-risk students, English learners, students with disabilities, high ability, students experiencing homelessness, foster, migrant. All those are different sections that we have to address to make sure we're meeting the needs of all students. So those are just a couple. Then they want to know, like, what are our transitions? For example, how are we addressing pre-K to K? Elementary to middle school to high school. How are we helping students with those transitions? So those are just a couple sections in the grant. Some of them are assurances, making sure. Another one is, what is our actual EL program? How are we servicing students on the basic core level? So through this application and all the ways we're servicing students and the needs, they're gonna ask us, how are you spending your federal funds? So anything we put in the pre-application needs to be addressed in our budgets. So after the pre-application is submitted and we have our allocations, we can start working on the budgets and making sure they're aligned to what we said. So there's no more narrative application process. It's all done here up front. Then it's just budgets of making sure what activities do we need to meet those goals or objectives that we put in the pre-application. Gotcha. So that's it for the pre-application process as we know it. We're getting started on it, making sure we're including, we have student services, special ed, because all those have high ability, all those departments have to be addressed. Meeting with our instructional leadership team, our district guiding coalition. So this is a joint effort, it's a collaborative effort. It's not just done here at the ESC. Any questions on that? Okay, so then I did want to share with you some update on Title I. So as we coming out of the pandemic, and you know that all schools had free meals for a couple of years, which kind of I want to say we didn't get as many free and reduced applications, kind of threw off our Title I schools a little bit, but it was kind of proportionally. However, now that we have free and reduced applications and direct certifications, these schools are now the Title I schools for the 23-24 school year. And as I've listed them in numerical order, that is the rank order of the schools. So Beardsley is at the top with the highest poverty measure. Oslo's at the bottom. Those, with the exception of Bristol, all those schools were Title I last year. Bristol kind of moved up there a little bit, so we will be serving Bristol. Now, if in adding a school doesn't mean we get more funds from Title I. So we'll have to look at that Title I allocation. If adding a school becomes challenging, there are other ways we can look at servicing. You know, let's say Oslo, there aren't enough funds. I don't know that because I don't have the allocation. But could we use ESSER funds or Title II to help us, if Oslo weren't a Title I school in the future, if they continue to be at the bottom, then how do we ease them out of Title I, you know, without ripping the carpet out from under them for a school year? How can we help support them as they, you know, or the rank order could change and they could bounce right back up.
And that's based on their level of poverty, correct?
Yes.
Can you speak a little more about that, Beth? I mean, what is the level of poverty? As this ranking comes out, it kind of surprises me to see Beardsley #1 and Roosevelt and Pierre Moran on the other side of things.
So they're all very close. So we've used free and reduced, and then we're using direct CEP, direct certification data. So they're so close that and can't remember Beardsley could be 99, that could be 97%, Niagara could be 96.9. They can all be very close. So they're not drastically apart as it might look, you know.
And then how do those funds impact the individual school? What does Monger get that Eastwood does not, for example?
So in the Title I, as you put them in rank order, these students, so the poverty, the percent of poverty, so whatever that number of students is. So if you have a school that has 400 students, 300 of them are, you know, based on free and reduced or CEP, 300 students are in that category that will generate money for Monger. So your full pay students don't do that. Just the students with the low income. So whatever per pupil allocation is assigned to Monger, and we do that, then that's times that number makes their allocation.
Okay.
However, enrollment is different in all the schools. So when working with that, there's a few things, you know, so often my allocations, as I'm trying to make sure we meet the needs of the schools, I work with the principals. I might have, so Beardsley at the top has to have the highest per pupil allocation. Let's say that's $500 per student. So every school below can have $500 per student, but they cannot have more. So they have to have the same or less.
Okay.
So sometimes that works out. Sometimes you have Pierre Moran with a higher number, even though they're at the bottom, they have a higher number of students. They might have a higher number of free and reduced students with a lower PPE, but it still generates the money they need.
And then what do those funds per student go towards for the school?
I work with the principals on those needs. One thing they have, all the schools have in common right now, the Title I schools, is they have intervention teachers that can help out with the struggling students. There's a parent involvement piece. There's professional development that we can use, for example, with our PLC process, we can use Title I funds in PD in the schools to pay for professional development, and we can use Title II to pay for a in the same thing, non-title schools. So we're just making sure we're coordinating all our efforts across the board. And it can go towards supplies, it can go towards summer school, after-school program at that school if they identify needs. It can pay for teachers.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time?
Would it be possible to, I guess, bring back the results?
Results.
Well, we spent all this money to make all the kinds of improvements over here, so there, what you talked about very briefly, goals. Okay, there's specific goals out there. There's a specific timeline, which I'm assuming is a year, I'm guessing. And, you know, a measurement tool, and then also where you started at and what the end results were. Did we reach the goal that we hoped for? Or were we just spending money because we could along the way here? That's going to become, I think, more and more important, you know, moving forward here. That we can demonstrate the money that we're spending, you know, is actually achieving significant goals for our school corporation.
Right.
But that would be handy. If you can come back to us at a later time, that would
Yeah.
be nice.
Yeah, so we have individual school data
Sure.
that we can share. And also in our, you know, in the pre-app, with goal, I mean, some of the goals, objectives, may be long-term, like we may be working on an initiative that can't be accomplished within a school year. But as we have a goal, we might accomplish that goal, and the next step will be this goal as we move along in the process.
And many of those goals were reflected in the teaching and learning plan this year. So the
Yes.
data that we have with the dashboard that will be coming as we get the data here at the end of the year, that's where you would see that measure. So all that in the teaching and learning plan is reflective of that consolidated effort of what we're doing.
And what I'm looking for is what I think I'm underneath all this is a good story. And so, you know, we need to get the good story to the public, you know, here, you know, so that they can see, hey, there is an improvement.
Right,
So,
absolutely.
thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That's all we got. Part A in the reception when people come.
All right. Well, then we'll end the work session and reconvene closer to 7 o'clock. board meeting. Everybody please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
and under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our promise. Every student is known by name, challenged, and supported by highly effective staff, and in partnership with the community, will graduate career, college ready, and life ready. We have an invitation to speak protocol. I think there are sheets. Doug has the sheets. If anybody wants one, fill it out and give it to us. You'll have a moment to speak after each item about that item, or at the end during public comments. This time, I'd like to recognize a special recognition of certified and classified retirees. Perfect timing.
I have to make a grand entrance.
That was perfect.
Good evening, everyone. We are very excited to be here today to celebrate our retirees, certified and classified. So it is with great pleasure that I stand before you today to recognize and celebrate the retirement of our hardworking staff. Today, we honor those who have spent years serving our students as teachers, therapists, social workers, paraprofessionals, food service, bus drivers, custodians, secretaries, and administrators. As we celebrate the retirement of these individuals, let us take a moment to reflect on the impact they have made on the lives of students. Each and every one of them has played an important role in shaping the future of our young people. They have inspired, challenged, and supported our students, and for that, we are forever grateful. As we say goodbye to these amazing colleagues, I'm reminded of the words of Maya Angelou, who once said, "I have learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." I believe that our retiring staff have made our students feel loved, supported, and inspired. They have left a lasting impact on the lives of those they have touched, and for that, we will always be remembered. So to our retiring colleagues, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your tireless dedication to our students, for your unwavering commitment to education, and for the impact you have made on our lives. We wish you all the best on your new adventure, and know that your contributions to education will not be forgotten. So with that, I would like to congratulate all of our retirees and wish them the best. So on that note, we do have some retirees here with us that we would like to present a certificate, have them up here recognized, and hopefully take a picture with the board or superintendent. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with our classified staff, who Leslie, Assistant Director, will be presenting, and then we'll follow on with our certified staff.
So our first retiree tonight is Susan Clifton, and she is a social worker at Cleveland Elementary, and she served 23 years of service with Elkhart Community Schools. The next one is Emily Grant. She's an assistant speech therapist with the PACE program, and she served 25 years. Ann Henderson. She's a paraprofessional from Roosevelt, and she served 10 years. And I know Ann is here. Come on up. The next one is Candy, and she is a support specialist from Food Services, and she has 36 years of service with Elkhart Community Schools. And I know she was here tonight as well. Come on up. Tom Lebezinski, who is the the Development Director for WVPE with 10 years of service. And then we have Aloria Mays, who was the Executive Assistant in Human Resources, and she had 42 years of service. And then we have Roxanne Nimzik, who was the Assistant Secretary for Riverview with 19 years of service. Deborah Scott, an academic trainer at Bristol Elementary with 10 years of service. May Sims was a social worker at Hawthorne with 34 years of service. Renee Strybey, our head custodian from Pierre Moran Middle School with 15 years of service. Mike Weaver, assistant head custodian at Elkhart High School. And Mike had 10 years of service. And Cherie Wilkie, a technical assistant with the TAP program, and she had 15 years of service. So let's give all of our classified retirees a round of applause. And then I'm going to pass the mic back to Maggie.
I just have to say that we're gonna eat very well tonight. All right, for our certified retirees, we have Dawn Rochelle Allen, Oslo Interventions, 26 years of service. Helen Duarte, Elkhart High School ETI, Science, 16 years of service. Carol Fish, Exceptional Learners, 26 years of service. Elaine Buick, Beardsley Elementary, Special Education, 36 years of service. Heidi Krusenkloss, the Career Center as a Career Coordinator, 32 years of service. Stephanie Lee, Oslo, 32 years of service. Theodore Miller, Eastwood, 21 years of service. Timothy Miller, Northside, 28. Cynthia Pinkowski, Exceptional Learners, 17 years of service. Laurie Ritchie, Daily, 33 years of service. Christopher Scalise, Northside, 26 years of service. April Schneider, Elkhart High School, 33 years of service. Warren Seegers, Career Center, 25 years of service. Michael Swanson, Munger Elementary, 29 years of service. Alejandrina Tyford, Roosevelt, 21. Denise Wappus, Roosevelt, 17. Jenna Wild, Pace, 16 years of service. So with all that years of experience, I have to say that we certainly have a very strong district with a lot of institutional knowledge and experience. I would take this opportunity to give them a round of applause to thank them for their service. Now we have one more item to recognize. And as you may have noticed, we have a guest with us today, Mayor Rod Robertson, who joins us tonight to help us recognize an employee who has demonstrated extraordinary commitment and service to the district.
Yes.
All right. So Lori's commitment to Elkhart Community Schools is one to be admired. After all, she has called this place a home for the last 42 years. Now, that's not to mention the time that she spent in Elkhart as a student. And yes, I know what you must be thinking. She did start right after high school. So with that said, I'll leave the floor to Mayor Robinson.
Thank you, Maggie. And hello, board. Hello. Good evening. This is a special opportunity for me because I have sat in the audience and I've watched other mayors speak to valued employees and staff members who have retired after so many years of service. I guess Loria hits that mark. Loria, would you join me at the podium? She hits that mark where she gets an opportunity for me to muddle over some of her accomplishments. But before I do want to say that I've adopted a term called force multipliers. And I believe that there are certain partners within our community that are just that for our city. And I think one of the reasons why this is established as an opportunity for the mayor to say thank you is because the school system is a force multiplier for us. It creates an environment for our community that is unsurpassed. And so these opportunities for us to recognize this type of service is special to us. It's definitely special to me because I was raised by a family of educators. And so when they retired, I was a kid, but I always remember the kind of work that they put in, but the kind of love that they had in their heart for public service. And that is what you do. And that is so important to our community. With that said, I called this afternoon to get a bio on you, Lori. Now, I could have talked to you about some of the things that I knew about her that's outside of, but I chose not to. I said, let me make sure. And it's always good to come from a community where you know folk. And I think that is important to how you serve as well. Gives you an accountability that I think is unsurpassed. I personally work with Loria with a organization that myself and George Byers were involved with called LEAP, where we were helping kids gain the necessary skills to pass what they called back in those days the GQE. And that has gone by the wayside, hasn't it? In multiple iterations. But it was an extra activity that a lot of folk came together in order to provide these kids with the opportunity to pass. And Loria was right in the middle of that in helping us gather kids from all over the system that could have been performing a little less than what they should. And then we brought them to extra remedial opportunities inside of churches throughout the community. And Loria at St. James at the time, correct? Still at St. James? That's right. I know the Mitchell family love St. James. And so Loria was definitely involved with that. It was so helpful for us as a community. But Loria Mays began her career at Elkhart Community Schools in 1981. She started as a secretary in the guidance office at Memorial High School, at which time the hourly rate, just for those of you who wondered, was $3.65 an hour. And in parentheses, it says fun fact. I guess it is a fun fact. During her tenure with the district, Loria has worked at Elkhart High School from 1984 through 2005. In January of 2005, Loria joined the Human Resources Department. The vast knowledge and experience that Loria gained through the various opportunities while at ECS made her an invaluable member of the Human Resources team. Her contributions as the Human Resources Executive Assistant were felt district-wide. One would say that her institutional knowledge of the district is second to none. We are honored to present Loria Mays with the key to the city this evening for her dedication and commitment to Elkhart Community Schools. like I said, 40 years I get a chance to do this, so I thank everybody else. I do want to say thank you for your service as well, because you are force multipliers, whether you were 1 year or 40 years. But the keys go to over 40. Just to let you know.
Thank you. The consent items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do you have any discussion?
Yes, from afar, I have community donations, and that is Cheers for Wheels, $1,300 for 2 students to attend a trade school. The class of 1960 donated $1,200 in a scholarship for 1 Elkhart Area Career Center student. Gemstone donated $500 for volleyball. Heart City Toyota, $500 for volleyball. The Michiana Porsche Club donated $1,200 in the Michelle Hostetler Memorial Scholarship for 1 senior student in automotive. Reith Riley donated $500 value. It's a Roscoe roll pack that they will use in the department. Operation RX donated $500 towards the volleyball team. Sarah Zimmerman donated backdrops for the commercial photography class. And Madison Motors donated a 1981 Volkswagen Jetta diesel valued at $450 for our diesel tech class. So once again, it's the end of the school year and we had phenomenal donations. So thank you, community, for believing in Elkhart area, or Elkhart, our school, but also the Career Center.
And Kelly, I think you do that better virtually than you do.
Listen, any opportunity I have to utilize this television voice, I will take. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a comment on the overnight trips. Probably most of you don't know this, but coming up in July, August, we have a group of 15 kids going to Japan. And there was an exchange group earlier this year of 66 that had came. And somehow along the way, I missed that. So I would have liked to have some authentic sushi, out of that. So anyhow, let's, this is a big deal. Let's communicate that a little better to, everybody about and stuff. So thank you. I've been there myself. It's a great place.
Any further discussion? Any discussion from the audience? Roll call. Aye.
Aye.
Chris, did you say my name?
Yes.
Did you say my name?
You did. Yes.
Okay, I'm an I. Sorry, it's hard to hear her from over there.
Thank you. All right. Moving on to old business, Mr. Thorne.
Thank you. This evening, the administration is seeking board approval of a revision to board policy 5430, which is the class rank policy for the district. The purpose of this revision is to allow for the development of a Laude system for the purpose of recognizing high levels of student academic achievement. The proposed system would be based upon a weighted grade point average for each graduate and will take effect for students graduating at the end of the 2023-2024 school term. Seeking your approval this evening.
You have a motion?
Motion.
Do you have a second? Do you have any discussion? Any discussion from the audience? Roll call, please. Aye. Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Weaver?
Aye.
Dr. Bellis? Aye. Mrs. Mullins?
I.
Thank you. Next item would be Administrative Regulation IKAB, which is really a counterpart to the policy that you just approved, which really sets out some of the protocols, the procedures, the ranking, et cetera, related to the Laude system of recognition. Bringing to this for an opportunity for further input from the board. Are there any questions related to this administrative regulation? If not, I will sit down so you can move on to other business.
Thank you.
See you shortly with Sarita.
All right, next on the agenda would be new business. Dr. Tallheimer?
In your packet, you saw a new course offering presenting the following course, Introduction to Culinary Arts and Hospitality, which you will see particularly on page 71 in your packet is a CTE funded course, which is the beginning course in a pathways under the next level programs of study for culinary and hospitality. If you have any questions for that, Jen Higley, who would be the instructor for the course and help put the packet together, is here to answer any questions if you have any.
Do we have any questions for Jen? No? You get off the hook. All right. Next, lacrosse.
The administration recommends that lacrosse be moved to a club sport supported by the district like all other club sports and no longer funded by the athletic department as an interscholastic athletic program.
Do we have any questions regarding this recommendation?
We have a motion to discuss.
We got a motion. Okay. Do I have a motion for this recommendation?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Now we can have discussion.
Yeah, this goes back several years ago, but with the combination of the high schools, there was concern about loss of opportunity for athletic programs. And the administration at that time had made an extensive promise to actually increase the number of available opportunities in sports and athletics for our students and stuff like that. So I want to make sure that, as programs will change over the course of time and years and stuff like that. And so, but we need to also be building up new ones, so that we can still give these students the opportunities for scholarships and exercise and to be out of their parents' hair and drive their parents crazy too. So thank you.
Any other discussion?
I would just like to say, I don't know how many people read the board packet online, but the athletic department is working on their feeder programs, and I know Buck is here, so I don't know if we want Buck to say a couple of things about what other programs they're bringing online that we're involved in, so people know.
Sure.
Just to kind of give a brief explanation of kind of what happened and why this became about, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, could you come to the podium, please?
Sure. We're bringing Thank you, Brian Buckley. I'm one of the athletic directors at Elkhart High School. And thank you for bringing this motion forward. What we're trying to do is really support the IHSA recognized sports in our high school. And in doing so, we need to really, I've heard for years, better feeders, better feeders, better feeders. So we're taking these dollars and we've added middle school tennis, we've added middle school golf, middle school baseball, middle school softball, girls wrestling, and we're in the early stages of adding boys volleyball. So all of those things are things that we need to be able to fund and do to continue to add opportunities for all of our students in Elkhart to be able to participate. And although we love lacrosse and we're not trying to get rid of lacrosse, we're repurposing or repositioning lacrosse into its appropriate location. So we'll still have it, but it'll where the head is at close.
And I want to add one thing. I want to personally say thank you to Coach Penny. And at the time when lacrosse started, Coach Dorman was also one of the lacrosse coaches. And our family was fortunate enough to have our son play on the lacrosse team the very first year. So although it's heartbreaking, it's understandable. It's a difficult sport to feed if you don't have another sport that feeds into it. But I didn't want to go without saying thank you to both of those gentlemen, especially Jeff Penny. He's a phenomenal man and an excellent lacrosse coach.
Thanks, Kelly. And he has already started working on figuring out how to fund it as a club sport. So it's good. Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank
Bob.
you.
Do we have any discussion or comments from the audience? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Mr. Tyler,
Aye.
Aye.
Bonnerella. Aye. Ms. Mullins,
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Thorne?
Thank you. Tonight, the administration is bringing forward some proposed revisions, or actually additional positions to the miscellaneous employees compensation plan. However, we're doing this a little bit differently than we typically do. We are presenting two different positions and seeking approval of one this evening and providing and asking for to share some additional information to you with regard to the second one. The first position for consideration, for which we are requesting waiver of second reading, is the addition of a career coordinator to the Elkhart Area Career Center. Information related to the addition of this position was shared with board members during a prior meeting by Brandon Eakins, who is our CTE director for the district. And a copy of that proposed position description is included in your packet for tonight's meeting. The second position that is being brought forward for initial consideration is an assistant supervisor of food services in the food service department. And I've asked Pam Melcher, our director of food service, to share with you a little bit of information related to the rationale for adding that position to her department. Like the career coordinator position, a copy of that position description is included in your packet for tonight's meeting. Again, we're just bringing this position for first consideration so that we can provide some more information to you as relates to that position. So I'll turn it over to Pam, talk a little bit more about this position.
Okay, so we've been looking at different districts that are similar to ours to see what they have. But we also want to consider programs that we're doing that those districts are not. So catering is one of them, and catering is really doing a fantastic job right now. We're looking at transferring monies from the catering account into our 8,400 account, which is our food service account. So that's helping to provide that account with more money. We've looked at Avon Township, which is 11,413. They have an assistant director and the director. Brownsburg is 10,034, and they have the same. Penn Harris Madison is 11,529, and they also have the same. And then we have some smaller districts, Goshen, which is 6,726, which also has both. Greenfield, which is 4,430, and Warsaw, that's 7,098. With the ever-changing regulations, which we are responsible for being in compliance and to ensure student and consumer safety, strengthening our leadership team by adding a member to assist with the oversight of the department is our goal.
Do you have any questions?
Pam, first, I'd like to say I have been at community events that were catered by ECS, and catering staff did a fantastic job. It was so nice to see the school system out there being represented in the community in that fashion. Will this new position help enhance the offerings that we're going to be able to do as a catering department, or how does this new position impact what your plans are?
Okay. So there's two things that the position will help enhance. So in 2020, we were doing scratch cooking, going back to scratch. That's where we intend to go, and that's for our students. So next year, we're starting at the high school and the freshman division. And then we'll trickle down to the middle schools. We'll put some things in there next year, but not as much as we will in years to come, and then the elementary too. And yes, it's oversee catering, just to make sure that we are representing them schools in the best way we can.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
And as I noted, we'll be bringing this back, so if there are other questions that might come up over the next several weeks, we'd be happy to answer those. Another thing I think I would want to point out to you is, because this is a food service position, it is paid for out of their operating budget, so it would not impact the district's operations budget or the education fund.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion on the EACC career coordinator position and waiving second reading?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Mr. Blyler,
Aye.
Mr. Scott,
Aye.
Did you say me? Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Scott.
First item is the business office is recommending approval of the Cisco SmartNet maintenance contract. Jason, who's here this evening, can answer questions. In his staff worked diligently on this. This is a 3-year agreement at a 0% interest rate that saves us a little over $55,000 a year. So it will help ensure network performance and support of our students and staff. So with that, Mr. Scott, I would ask for approval of this recommendation.
Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? I do have one question. Now, this is a renewal. Was our last contract a 3-year contract?
Yeah, for like, we're in the middle of the school board meeting. Like, we'll put it like,
Are there any increased access points? Contract?
I don't think it's a new construction, that sort of thing.
Okay. I don't have anything further. Any other questions?
And Jason, am I reading this right, that the 3-year cost savings is just over $167,000 over the 3-year period?
Mm-hmm. Cisco has some pretty good programs for education, so we were able to take advantage of that.
Very good. Yeah. Please come back again.
Any other questions? Any questions for discussion from the audience? Roll call, please.
Mr. Burnett,
Aye.
Mr. Blyler,
Aye.
Aye.
Next item is the financial report. Our business office would like to report as of the end of April 2023, our cash balance is $31,101,602.62. Just a couple items to mention. As you look at the education fund sheet, you can see that the February student count now has been adjusted with April funding, and so that saw a shrink of roughly $400,000. That'll be the case for May and June. Now in July, the new funding formula that the General Assembly passed will come into play, as will the student enrollment estimate, which was the same as the February count. So that'll improve some, but at the moment, for April, May, and June, we're going to be in a negative position. The operating fund, the next page, is doing well. Cash balance is up. So that concludes my comments on the financial report. Are there any questions before we move on? Seeing none, I'm going to move on to the insurance report. You can see that our claim experience in April is a little bit higher than it was in April of 2022, as is the case on a year-to-date basis. And so if you look down kind of at the lower right-hand corner in the shaded box, the cost per employee per month through 4 months of the year is up 8%. So if we were going to go off a renewal today, we'd be seeing an increase. That's why I included for the first time this page. Behind that, you can see the history of employee premiums back to 2016. Our most popular plan is the high deductible 2 plan. So if you look at the family, the employee contribution in 2016 was $9,449. This year it's $6,196. So what we've seen over the years is that grumbling about insurance costs is fading. So that's been a positive. But the insurance committee is certainly looking at ways to mitigate an increase as we move into next year. So that concludes my comments on the insurance report. And then I have one final item of business. Thank you for letting me add this to the agenda. The business department is recommending a insurance premium holiday on the payroll this Friday, the 26th. So, Mr. Scott, I would ask for approval of this request.
Do I have a motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Kelly is just a voice at work. Yeah. All right. We now come to the part of the evening that we have comments from the audience. First up would be Mary Schubert.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mary.
I'm a bus driver and have been for 35 years. And I was out sick the other day and they decided to sneakily put my bus up for bid. I asked them why and they said, well, because first of all, because the human resources lady said that I got another one that said it was the bus committee that went over and wanted to put my bus up for bid. Now I haul the hearing impaired and have for 5 years. Same bus, and it's never ever come up for bid because it was given to me and I made the route with the kids, and now I've gone to funerals for the kids' parents. I've gone to when their house burnt down and I took them food. I see them, the parents, all the time, talk to them almost every day. And it's just appalling to me why there's no reason that they took that bus away from me. And I want to know why, and I would like to keep us in the hearing impaired kids because we've grown awful close to each other. And I don't want to break that. That's what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
All right. I actually got off lucky and I know no long names, no names you can't read. Michelle Ivy.
The Giants went before me, so I need to adjust this because I'm ready to poop. I am addressing you, first of all, from transportation this evening on behalf of 2 drivers who were not able to make it this evening, but they've written a small note with some things they'd like to say. And I was given permission to do this. It's unprecedented, and that's who I am. So yeah. This first driver, her name is Carolyn Moore. She's a bus driver for Elkhart Schools and been driving for 18 years. She said, I know you've been hearing many complaints about transportation, and we do have our problems. There have been times when I have wanted to look for other employment, but the truth is I like my job and I like working for the school system. Hopefully next school year things will improve and we'll all work together as a team and make it an enjoyable place to work for everyone again. I just want to say thank you for inviting me back every year and hope you all have a great summer. The second letter says, good evening to everyone. I'd like to start out by saying I'm doing work that I have enjoyed for well over 20 years, transportation. I've worked at 3 other school districts before driving at Elkhart Schools, and that was a little more than 15 years ago. I truly thought this is the best school transportation department I've had the pleasure to work for, and I expressed that to the director at the time. Our transportation department has progressed in the direction opposite of what it used to be. The majority of the employees in transportation continue to do their work. However, we are keenly aware of the desperate need for strong, positive, and purposeful leadership. The attention given to our department at this time by the upper management is greatly appreciated. We look forward to positive changes soon to come to our department. For all of us who continue to strive to do our best, we work to truly thank you, Trish Simmons. But I say good evening. Welcome to the last Taco Tuesday of the school year. On this Thursday, we will pull the air brake of approximately 100 buses, and we will shut them down for the summer. And it has been a rough year, but we made it. We all pull together. That's what we do well. We're grateful for the support of the administration, as usual. We are currently in training of 5 new drivers. We have trained 8 and licensed them this year. We have 7 currently driving. This next week, we'll be participating in the parade, and Buster will make his wonderful appearance as usual. We were participating in the grad walk by delivering seniors to their home schools as they walked the hallways as they graduated this year. Today, I participated in the kindergarten graduation at Mary Feaser School because I have 13 elementary kindergartners, and I wanted to see them cross the stage and let them know that I was proud of them. I was also allowed to participate with the Special Olympics for our elementary kids last week. That was amazing. I saw everybody there. It was great. Saw Dr. Smallheimer there. The kids were excited. It was a long day, but we made it work. I just wanted to take a moment to let you know that we're open for the challenges. We've always risen to the challenges that have been brought to us in our community, and I know we're going to face more, but we're ready for it. We just need some good leadership. And we need people to really continue to believe in us as transportation department. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
As the school year comes to a close, we'd just like to thank everybody for putting in all the work at the last week here, all the special events, recognitions of students, the opportunities that we give kids to enjoy their time together, and the special moments with staff. Reminder of graduation this coming Sunday, and that all employees make it through Thursday and then be able to enjoy their summer. Again, thank you for all the work that everyone does.
Any comments from the board?
I've got a couple. First, I'd just like to thank the retirees for giving of yourself to the district and our children for so many years. You will all be missed, and I hope that you have a great retirement and you enjoy it. And if you find yourselves getting lonely, our door is still open for you. And then secondly, I'd like to recognize Kevin Scott. He was awarded the John Lamplighter Award from the ISBOA last week for distinguished service and highest recognition for his work throughout the state and our district with business professional school business management. And so I just wanted to highlight that and thank him. That I'm glad he's our CFO. So thank you for.
I would like to thank the retirees as well. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for, what you've done throughout the years. It's very few jobs that you actually make an impact and can touch the future. And these jobs do that. And so I thank you for that. I also want to reiterate, when you get home and retirement is just not what you thought it was. we would be accepting for you to come back. So thank you for that. I also want to thank all the staff for everything they did this year to get us through this year. We're close to the finish line. It takes an effort by everybody. That is not, we recognize that. And, we've all had challenges, but, we're putting the nail into another year. It's a great year. And again, what you do is important, and it does affect and impact lives, not only today, but in the future. So thank you for another great year. Lastly, Buck, you said Adley Klein.
Adley Klein, yeah, advanced in sectional tennis.
She advanced in sectional tennis tonight, so congratulations to Adley. Is it regional next? Did they have regional? I don't know if it's.
Yeah, what's happening right now in the sports world is our girls are running in the regional track meet tonight in Goshen. Boys will run Thursday, and they have a real shot at winning that. Softball won last night, and they play Concord tomorrow. Baseball plays Goshen on Saturday.
And JV baseball just beat Fairfield like 10 minutes ago, 8-6 for their 20th victory of the year. They're 20-7. So
Everybody's finishing strong, man, so let's keep it up. Unified Track is sectional champ.
Yep.
They're going to regional this Saturday. Very cool.
Very good to you. Congratulations, Unified Track. Well done. I think that's our the one state championship that we have. Right?
Yeah.
So we wish them well, advancing and skate number 2. Anything else?
Buck, do you need any bigger showcases out there?
We hope so. We're working on that.
Nothing else?